Tech works. So today we are going to start creating this expense tracker here using Manstack. And another thing is that if you haven't gone through the introduction video, just go through the introduction video first so that you'll understand what we are going to create. In the introduction video, we go through the whole project and the things that we are going to implement, and also you can be able to see eventually the source code. If you look at the description of the very first video, you can be able to see the source code and the link to the GitHub, and also you can consider leaving the star on that GitHub. And the other thing is that I noticed like 80% of those people who are watching this channel have not subscribed, so kindly consider subscribing and also like this video so that we grow together. So now let's get into the video where we are going to start creating this. Now we are going to start with this diagram here. We are going to see parts that we are going to have in our project. So the first thing that we are going to have is this front end. We are going to have our backend here. We are going to have this part that we are calling background services, and also here you can see MongoDB. So we have all these parts and we have 4 parts here. So this is a simple application, but also it's a very good project that will teach you a lot of things, including things like background services, of which I have not seen anybody else teaching this in YouTube. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create a folder. So let us go into our computer here, and then I'm going to go to this part that we are calling YouTube 2024, and also you can see other projects that I have built here. You can look for this shift taking application which I made through with Manstack, that is, and I'm going to create here another folder, and this folder we are going to call it this folder we can call it maybe expense tracker. So expense tracker here, I think this is the name here, but I want to create it very well. So this is expense tracker here. The other thing that I'm going to do, if you have VS Code, you know how you can be able to open the project. You can be able to use command prompt. So let's see. So I can go to command prompt here and then navigate to documents. And then inside document, I have a folder called YouTube, and also inside YouTube 2024, I have this part that I'm calling expense tracker. So I'm going to open my code here using code and then dot. This will open the VS Code inside that folder. So if you open like that, you'll be able to see this part that we are calling, or we are going to open VS Code inside this folder here. And if you see my VS Code is look different, the interface or the appearance is different, that is because I'm using a plugin that is called Ninja here. So I think it's called Console Ninja, or not Ninja, actually it is Firefly. So it is Firefly. So Firefly Pro. So Firefly Pro, you can see this one here. This is what I'm using, so that you can install this also if you want your VS Code to look like this. So this is the plugin that I'm using, so that's why you are seeing my VS Code looks different. So and the appearance is it is different from the other. So that is it. So the other thing that we are going to do is to create this folder is here, because we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So I'm going to create those folder here. So we have the very first folder. So the very first folder here, I'm going to call it front end, like that. And also we are going to have another one that we are going to call backend, like that. And then the other thing is also we can have like background services here, like that. And also we have another one. I think we have or it is just 3. Let me see. Yeah, it's just 3 because we are not going to have this MongoDB, because MongoDB, we are going to use MongoDB in their website. So that is it. So now where we can start by creating a MongoDB database. So we can go to MongoDB website. So actually I can be able to see this, and let it reload. And also you can let me know in comment section if you have ever built something related to background services, so that also I know how to teach these background services, because background services brings the automation in application. We can be able to bring automation in our application, because in our application we are going to have this part that we are calling background services that will be running after every time that we are going to specify, and then it will be checking if our expenses have reached $10,000, and then it will send the warning email. So that is the work of background services. So just let me know in the comment section if you have ever come across background services, and if you have ever learned about background services, because I have never seen somebody teaching about background services and how to achieve automation like this in YouTube. So now if we come here, we can create a new project. So I'm going to create a project here. So on this project, we are going to call this project something like expense tracker. Let me try expense tracker here, like that. Expense tracker, like that. And then here we can be able to have the expense tracker here, like that. And also the other thing is we can create a project now. So let's create a project here, like that. So I'm creating the project like that. Let's see. So it's taking time, so we are going to give it time. So the other thing that we are going to create is something that we call deployment, or maybe cluster. So let's first of all create cluster here. So you can see the whole process here as I am building here. So we can go through it together, and then you do it for yourself later, or maybe you can go process by process, and you'll be able to see how you can work through, or how to create the MongoDB database. So you can see here we have different clusters, but we are going to create this for free first of all, because this is a project that we are going to work on and to exercise on. And also maybe when you build a very big project, now you can start paying for these other clusters. So the other thing is also the MongoDB is very cheap, because you can see the storage that is giving you, also the RAM that is shared also, and we have a vCPU. So it is a very, very nice package. So what we are going to do also here, you can select AWS, you can select Google Cloud, you can be able also to select Azure. So I'm going to create deployment now. So let us create deployment, and then we can be able to solve this captcha. So crossroad, I think that is crossroad, this also, and also this, you can see crossroad here. So I think I have solved it. So let us verify. I don't think we have any other crossroad. And then after this, let's see. So here we can have this username here, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to work on it later. So let me create here, and here I cannot see where we should specify like the permission. Set up your user security permission. So let me do that later. So I'm going to do that later. And the other thing is that I'm going to use drivers to be able to connect to my MongoDB database. So I'm going to copy this. First of all, I'm going to copy this here, MongoDB, and then I'm going to add done, like that. And then the other thing is that we can be able to save that first of all. So I'm going to look for Notepad. So Notepad, like that. I'm going to paste that URL here, and then I'm going to now see the database here. I'm going to get the database here, and also I'm going to go here to network. So let's go to network here. Can be able to see we have network here, and you can see where we have added my IP address. It has added my IP address by default, so I can add another IP address to access from anywhere. So this is dot 0 here, dot 0, like that. and then /0, that is means that you need it will be accessed from anywhere. So allow access from anywhere, or even you can click here if you want. So you can click there and confirm that, and you'll be able to see that it has been included. So this one means that your database will be accessed from everywhere. So also I'm going to delete this database, so don't use my own database. Create your own database and then go through the process so that you get this driver here to connect it with your MongoDB. So the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to database access, and here we need to create a user. So create user and the password here. So I'm going to call this Mongo 2024, and then here also I'm going to call it Mongo 2024, like that. So I'm going to do that, and also I'm going to create here built-in role. So I'm going to select the role. I'm going to say this is Atlas admin, or maybe read and write to any database, or maybe let me add here as a Atlas admin, like that. And also we can add user. So that is it. So what we are going to do now, we can be able, now we have our driver here and we have our username. So our username is MongoDB, so Mongo 2024, and also we have our password here as Mongo 2024. So Mongo 2024, that means now we have created our database. So the part for database we have completed. Now we want to get into creating now our backend, because in most of my project I start by creating backend, and then later on we are going to create now this part that we are calling frontend. So we are going to create now backend and then create background services, and later on we are going to create frontend here. So now let's go to, because we have our MongoDB here, let's create backend here, and also make sure that we have connected our MongoDB with our backend here. So let's get into this part, and we are going to open our terminal here inside this part. So new terminal here, let it open. So for here you can be able to use PowerShell, or maybe if you have installed Git Bash, you can be able to use Git Bash. If you know more about Linux, you can be able to use Git Bash, and make sure you install Git Bash so that you can select it like that, or maybe you can just use this one, the PowerShell. So I'm going to use PowerShell. Because I know most people, maybe they don't know about Linux. So here I'm going to get into my backend, so cd backend, and then inside here I'm going to start or initialize my Node application. So I'm going to add here, actually it is npm init and then -y. So that means that I accept everything that I want to, that will come, all that the Node.js will ask me when I'm installing it. So I'm going to initialize it like that. So npm init and then -y. And if you now check inside here, now we have this package.json, and this is where we are going to control, or this one will give you more information about the packages that we are going to install. They will be here under dependencies. So you can be able to see, we don't have dependencies right now, but in future you'll be able to see dependencies. So this package.json is very important. So the other thing that I'm going to do, let me clear here. So now I'm going to install other packages that will help us to create our backend. The first one is Express. Also we are going to have .env like that. And also the other thing is we can have calls. And also we can have mongoose that will help us to connect with our database. And also we can have, I think these are okay. I think for now we have everything that we want. So let us install these packages here. So as it is installing, the other thing that I want to show you is also inside here you can add another file, and this file is called git ignore. So git ignore here. So this git ignore, this is where you put all the files and folders that you don't want to push to GitHub. So for example, I don't want to push another folder that is called node modules because it contains all the packages that we install. So here you'd be able to see node modules, but we won't be pushing it to GitHub. Also, I don't want to push .env file because this is where you put all secret things like secret key, API keys, and things like that. So I don't want to push that. So let me save this. And also if there's something else that I don't want to push, I will put it here. So what I'm going to also do, you can be able now to see node underscore modules because this is where my packages have been installed. And if you come here to package.json, you can be able to see now we have these dependencies. You can see the packages that we have installed. And that's why I don't want to push these node modules, because when you clone my code and you do npm install and come into backend and do something called npm install, let me just scroll up. So and then do npm install here. This package.json will tell the Node.js the packages that should be installed, and that will automatically create this folder that is called node modules with all the packages that I had already used in that project. So let us close this. And the other thing that I want to create here, it is our index.js, and this is where we are going to create our server and our web server here. So this is where we need to create our web server. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to import Express. So to import in Node.js, you use require. So require here, and we are going to import Express. Also, we are going to import calls. So const calls like that. So require, and then this one calls like that. Also, we can have another one. We can also import mongoose. So const mongoose, and then we are going to require mongoose like that. We can also have the other part also. Maybe we can have a part like .env or another package like .env. So the .env here, and also we can require .env like that. So now the other thing that we are going to do is that we are going to do .env and then .config like that. So also we are going to have like here we are going to have our middleware, or maybe let's say db connection, and from here I want to also create now another file that we are going to put it secretive things like here .env, and this .env here we are going to have, so let me see. So we are going to have port. Let me call them port with capital letters. So port, and the port I'm going to use port 445. So maybe something like 5000 like that. And also I'm going to have another variable that is called db underscore connection like that. And here we are going now to take our driver here. So this URL here that we created our database, and remember here we changed the username and then the password. So I'm going to save that, and then when we get inside here now we can be able to use this port. So we can be able to use this port here, and also db connection, this variable here, to be able to connect with our MongoDB. So get in here, and then the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to have mongoose. So mongoose, and then we are going to say dot connect first of all, And then here, to use now the variable that is inside this .env here, we can use process.env and then the name of that variable, and that variable we call it db_connection, like that. And then here we can be able to have .then. And then the other thing is that if you have not installed this package that is called .env, and also you have not configured it using this line of code that is .env.config, and then that means that you not be able to use this file here that is called .env. So now inside here we can have .then, so after you have tried to connect, you'll get results. So inside here, if .then here, so let me have a function inside here .then, we are going to have here, that means that this one have connected. So I'm going to do console log here, and then I'm going to add here connection. So I don't know why I'm having a lot of text here in my screen. So here I'm going to add db connection is successful, like that. So also if you're trying to connect, you can have error. So we can have .catch here, .catch error. So inside here also we have error, you can have an error. And then here we can have now, using this callback function, we can console log and then this error now. So we can console the error there, so that we able to see what is happening. So now the other thing is we need now to initialize our server. By doing that, we first of all we need to come here and do const app, and then we are going to call this function that we are calling express from this package that we have installed here called express. And now after db connection here, we are going to look to reason, and here we can reason for if our server is running. And here to do that, we are going to use process.env.port. So this is the port that we are going to reason. And then the other thing here, we are going to have another, like a callback. So this function that is called reason, app.reason, it takes the port number and also the callback function. So inside here, we can be able to console log. So console log here, and we are going to use this backtick here to do text interpolation. So here I'm going to say server is running on port, and then I can be able to use $, and then here I can be able to use process.env and then .port. Now the variable name, it should match with the variable name that is inside this .env file. So you can see this is port with capital letter, so that must match. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going also to push this down first of all. So also let me clear this. So I can clear that, and here now you can be able to see how we have been able to connect to our MongoDB, and also here how we have been able to reason for that port for us to be able to create that server. So what we are going to do also here, we are going to have a middleware. So let's have a middleware. So middleware here, this is where we are going to do app.use for our middleware. So here we are going to have like course, and then we open course. So this course, if we open this course, this means that our server will be able to have or to accept requests from any place. And if you want to specify like a very certain server, or maybe a certain URL that you want it only to access the resources in your server, then you can add here other things like how you want it to, or the origin where you only need it to access the server. That is to improve on security. But right now, if you do cost and then open these brackets here, that means that your server can have requests from any URL or from any other server, or maybe from any web application. So we are going to do that. We are going to also create video talking about cost in future. So now the other thing that I want to have here, we are going to have now another route. When we are creating route, also we are going to initialize them here. So as per now, what we are going to do is that we can be able to use nodemon. So if you have not installed nodemon, install nodemon. So here we can use nodemon and then index.js. So to install nodemon, you can install nodemon in globally. So you come here and search for nodemon globally, or how to install nodemon globally in Windows, or maybe the specified OS that you are going to use. So you can even see here, if you do npm install and then -g and nodemon, that means that nodemon will be installed globally. And whenever you are creating a project, you not need to every time installing nodemon, and because nodemon is very important, especially when you are creating node application, because it will be saving the changes and also rerunning your server, and that's how you want it to be, to save on time. So I'm going to run it. So let's see here if our server is running. So our server is running. You can see server is running on port 5000, and also you can be able to see connection is successful, DB connection is successful. So here also I feel like this one should be capital, and here because I have changed, I want you to see the importance of nodemon, because when I save here, let's say I save, you'll be able to see it reruns our server, because if we don't have like our nodemon, then it means that if we change here, we need to save and then come here and rerun our server. But when we have nodemon, it will run our server. So that is it. So that is the very first part. So the other part that we are going to look on is inside here, we need to create a models. So these models, this is where we are going to specify our model for our database. So now inside here, we are going to create expense, because our application is about expense or expenses. We can have them here. We have created this expense.js here, and this is where we are going to specify the structure of our database. That's why you can see models here. So this is where we are going to tell MongoDB that our database, we want it to have this and this and this. So here I'm going to first of all import mongoose. So mongoose here like that, and I'm going to require, that is import in Node.js. So mongoose, you can be able to see mongoose there. And also the other thing that you can have here, you can specify the schema. So I'm going to call the schema expense schema. Let me add here expense schema like that. And also here we can be able to create schema using mongoose.schema. So you can see .schema here, and then here also you can, it is a function that requires an object. And before that also I need to, first of all, before I specify, I need also to make sure that I export. So module.exports here, and we are going to export mongoose. So mongoose, and then .model, mongoose.model, and then here we can have expense, and then also that is the name of the database. And also we can have like this part here, what is called mongoose schema. So we are going to export this schema, and because we have added here mongoose.model, then means mongoose will go to my database, and then we'll create a collection that is called expenses. So here also we are going to have now the specification. So to specify here, you need to create the field that you want. For example, I'm going to have a label, and I'm going to show you the why I'm using label later on in this project. So here I'm going to have type. So type here is string. So we have a type of string because label will be the name of our expense. So here also we can have require, and require should be true. So this is true here, and also we are going to have another value or another field. This is value, and this is amount for our expense. So this one will be number, like that. And the other thing is we need to have also to require this, and we are going to add here true. The other thing is also we can have something like date. So a date for the expense. So this one is string. So string, and also here we can have like require, and this one is true also, we need to have it. So you can see now these are field, and then we can specify that field, the data type for that field. For example, this is string, this is number, and then this date is string. So I'm going to format this code. So format the code like that. I'm going to save that, and then here we are going to create our routes. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Inside this folder that we are calling backend, we need to have another folder that is called routes, like that. And inside these routes, we can have another file that is called expense.js, like that. And inside here now we can be able to create our route. So I'm going to have const express. I'm going to have to import express. Here I'm going to add here require. So require express. Also, the other thing is we can create route now. So I'm going to have const, and then here router, and then here it will be from express dot router. This is our function, and then call that function. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to export that. First of all, I'm going to export the router. So export, and then router here, because I'm going to use it in this file that is called index.js, or our entry file to our server. So here also I'm going to import the expense model, because now I'm going to use my database here. So let me import it, require from now the models. So this is how we access the model, and then expense, like that. So if I talk too fast, you can be able to use gear icon to slow me down, so that you go step by step, or even pause the video and then go back if you feel like I'm talking too fast, or even if I'm going too slow, you can be able to faster or use the gear icon to fasten me. So the other thing is now we can be able to create like routes. For example, here we can have add expense. So add expense, and here we can be able to use router. Now we are going to use router, and then we can use to add expense, we are going to use a method that is called post. So the post here, it is this URL. And then the other thing here, we can be able to specify the callback function, and here it's a request response. And then inside here, now we can have like the method, how we are going to add the expense to our database. So we can have another one here. So I'm going first of all to create them. So get all expenses. So how we get all expenses here, and here we need to do router.get, because this is for fetching now the data. So we are going also to fetch from that route. So then request response, and then in here we need to to get all, or to write the code logic to get all expenses from that database. Also here we can have the other one, which is update. So update expense, like that. And then here we can have router, and actually this one should not be capital letter, so router. And then let me see if this add expense, okay. And then here this one is put method, because this is for updating. And then here we can have request and then response, and here we can have now the logic for updating the request, or updating the expense, that is. So the other thing here, we can have this part that you are calling now deleting, so because we can be able to delete. So this is actually CRUD operation. So delete an expense, and actually I think I should use an expense. So router dot delete now, because this is for deleting. Delete method, here we can have that route, and then here we can have request and then response, and then we can have the logic inside here for deleting an expense. So that is it. And the other thing here is update an expense, because it's one, and here also an expense, like that. So let's start here. Now the logic for adding an expense to our database, we are going to have first of all try catch, because this one is a synchronous function, and also it can fail. So, and this is because it is a synchronous function, we are going to add a sync here. And also here we are going to have now the logic. So first thing first, I'm going to get the expense. So expense here. And actually I don't know why I'm misspelling expense, and this expense we are going to await, and that's why we added a sync here. And here we can use expense now. Now we are going to use this expense, and then here we need to call this function that the function by itself, or even we can be able to just make sure that we call this expense, which is our model here, and inside this function we can do request.body, because request.body, that's where we send our data to, so, or through. So here we can be able now to save. So to save that, actually we are going to save this, and to save this I'm going to do here, I'm going to add the expense. Now expense dot save. So here actually what you can also be able to do is that, let me call this new expense. So new expense here, and then here we can have now expense, and then this expense here we can add new expense, like that, and then save, call this function like that. And then the other thing you can do is that you can send that. So we can send that to our front end. So this is request or rest.status, and then 201, because 201 is status code for creation. And then here we can be able to do .json, and then we can send the expense here. So the other thing is that also, if there's an error here, we can be able to send it also. We can have like rest.status, and then here we can have something like 500, and then .json, and then we can send the error to our front end also and display it there. So that is it. This is the first part, and also I'm using Prettier to format my code, so you can be able to see Prettier here, and also you can install it through extension. You can come to extension here and be able to look for Prettier. So you can see Prettier here. You can be able to install this, so that if you install this, when you click on the here on the right side, you can be able to select this format code and it will be able to format it. And also it will give you, if there's an error, it won't be able to format. So you can install this extension that is called Prettier. So now, I think the other thing that we can do here is the logic for get all expenses. And here, this is a bit very simple. So I'm going to try and then catch. So here we are going to use here also async and await, async, await. So this is because it's a synchronous function. We are going to have here const expenses. So we are going to fetch all expenses from our database. And then here we can have expense dot find. So this is a function for database for MongoDB actually. And now you can leave it here, but if we want to sort the expenses, we can sort it because we want our expenses to be sorted in a way that the latest expenses should be on top here. So to do that, because if you just fetch them using this function, you'll find that the expense that you did it the last, then it will not be appearing at the top here. So the latest expense won't appear among the top here, and that is how we want. So you need to sort that. So we can do sort here, and then the other thing is we can have now inside here we can have created art and then give it 1. So I don't know why I'm having those a lot of text, and this one should be -1, not 1. So created art, you can be able to see here, and this one here is function for MongoDB. So you can maybe go through MongoDB documentation and you'll be able to find this. So the other thing is we can do rest status, and then here we can send now our expenses.json, and then here we can have now we can send the expenses now to our front end like that, so that we can display them in our interface. So here also the same thing, we can do rest status 500 and then .json, and we can show the error, so like that, or send the error that is. So here I'm going to format my code to remove these spaces. The other thing here we can have now, we can have this part that we are calling put now, and here we can have try catch, and this we are choosing try catch, and here we are going to update. And also updating is a very simple method. So we are going to do cost expense, and then here we are going to have await, and here we need to have async. So async like that. Then here is await. So await, here we need to use expense as our model, and then we are going to use a function by MongoDB that is called find by ID. So find by ID, this one is small letter y, by ID, and or find by ID and update like that. And this function here requires different things, and the first thing that you need to do is to first of all get the ID, and to send the ID you can send the ID here using this path. So I'm going to have here. So here inside this function we can have request, and to get this ID here that you are going to send, you can use request dot params and then dot ID like that. And then the other thing that we can have is we can actually have a comma here, and then inside here we can have different things. So for example, we can have, let's say we can have here, very first thing that we can have here, we can add set, and this is for MongoDB, so don't stress yourself. You can go through the MongoDB and you'll be able to see all this. So here you can have here the what we are calling set here, and this is inside another object. So we can have set and then request body dot body, and then we can have a comma here, and here we can have new, and this one should be true, like that. I'm going to save this and format, so like that. And then after that we can be able to send that. So this one, because we used request.params.id, we know which one we want to update, or which expense we want to update. So, and then you give it the information that comes with the body, request.body, and then from here now I can be able to send that to my frontend.status. And this one, because it's creation also, we can use .00201, and then here I can add JSON. Also here I can use expense, like that. I can do that. So this is expense, and then here we can be able also to send the error dot status, and then here 500 JSON, and then here we can be able to send error. So error, like that. So now we have the other one for deleting. So I can be able to delete this format here, and to delete also we need to know which expense that we want to delete. So I'm going to use ID here, like update, because we need to know which one we are updating, because for things like fetching or expenses, we don't have ID here because we are fetching everything from our database, and also adding to the database here, we are just pushing it to save it in our database. So we don't have to have ID, and then also the ID that we are going to use, we are given by MongoDB. So now let's try to delete here, try catch, like that. Here we need to have a sync, and then the other thing here we can have a wait now, that is deleting. So expense, and then find, we are going to use this that we are calling find by ID, and delete, like that. Find by ID and delete, and we are going to give it like our ID, which we be sending through this route. So request.params.id, like that. And then after that we can send a message now. So const, so here we can have res.status, and then here it is 201, because this is also creation and destruction. So here we can have s.json, and then we can send like a message like deleted successfully, like that. And also we can come here down, and then can add res.status, and then .json. Actually this is 500, this 500, and then .json, and then here we can send the error. So this is error, like that. So now that is it. I think what else we need here now, everything I think it's just okay. So we don't need to add anything here. So now our route, we need to use it in our this part that we are calling index. So let's go back to our code. So that's why we exported that router, and I want to show you how to use that in index.js. That will come here in index.js, and what we can be able to do here is we can have another part here that we are going to call it here. So let's have our routes, like that, or maybe let me use capital routes. And here first thing is to import now my routes. So here I'm going to export. So here is expense route, and we are going to import by require. So this one here will be from routes, and then from expense, like that. and here I can be able to use that now here. So to do that, I'm going to use an app.use, and then here I can add my route now. My route, I'm going to call it expense or expenses, and then here I can now give it this expense route like that, and that is it. Now that's how you connect your application. So now our backend is okay, and we have finished doing the changes. So here I think there's an error, and this one here, let's see what is it. Mongoose.model, here mongoose is not defined. So this is an error inside this folder here. So mongoose is not defined. So mongoose, I think this is, yeah, this is a different, this is where we have an error. So I'm going to save this, and then I think now this will clear our error. So I'm going to stop my server, and then let me just rerun it again. So actually it's giving me also an error. So what I'm going to do, let's see, mongoose export in express.js models. So this one is giving me error. So I think it's here. And you can see here, if you check here, you can be able to see. Let me first of all close this. Actually here, I want to push this here. So I'm going to come here and let me push this, or let me push this. Let me push this here, or maybe close it like that. So if you come down here, you'll be able to see this one is different. So I'm going to save this. So this is mongoose like that. So yeah, so if I come here and then again I can be able to stop this and then rerun again. Think now this is okay. It's giving me error, so I don't know where the error is coming from, but let's see. So let me see where the error is coming from. Mongoose. So this one is giving me error. So I don't know why I'm having this error here. So let me see where the error is coming from. So mongoose. So I think this is where the error is coming from. So mongoose. So let me come here, and then also in my index here, I'm going to copy this like that. So let me copy this, and then I'm going to see the error, where the error is coming from. So I'm going to actually copy and paste here mongoose, and then here I'm going to use mongoose. So mongoose like that. So I think that is it. So let me save this, and then inside here now you can be able to see it is running now. We have our server is running on port 5000 and DB connection is successful. So you have seen the work of Node.js. You can see even Node.js is saving and also rerunning my server. So not saving, but rerunning my server. So that is it. This is the very first part. So we have created our backend. In our next video, I'm going to show you how to test your backend, and also we are going to start creating background services. So that is it. See you on the next video. Remember to like and also subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time I upload a new video. See you the next video.